I was holding a dying man's hand when he looked straight into my eyes and whispered something that made my entire life collapse in real time. "Your mom told me you were dead." I swear my heart didn't just skip a beat, it stopped, flatlined, just like the machines I monitor every single night. For a second, I thought I misheard him. Happens sometimes. Hospice patients drift. Confusion, hallucinations, morphine dreams. I've seen it all. But the way he said it? That wasn't confusion. That was grief. Raw. Real. 30 years deep grief. And somehow, it had my name written all over it. My name is Ava Reynolds. I'm 33 years old, and I've spent the last decade of my life working night shifts as a hospice nurse in Columbus, Ohio. I'm the person families call when they're too exhausted to sit beside a hospital bed at 3 a.m. I'm the calm voice, the steady hands, the one who doesn't leave. I built my whole identity around not leaving, because someone left me first. At least, that's what I was told. Growing up, my mom had one version of the story, and it never changed. Your father chose drugs over you. Simple. Clean. Final. No follow-up questions, no room for doubt. I was 6 the first time I asked about him. I remember standing in our tiny kitchen, the smell of burnt toast in the air, watching my mom scrub dishes like she was trying to erase something. "He walked away, baby," she said, voice trembling just enough to make it believable. "Some people just aren't built to stay." And that was it. I never asked again, because I saw her cry. And I made a promise right there, standing on a chair too tall for me. "I'll never leave you, Mom." And I didn't. Not when she worked double shifts. Not when we moved across town 3 times. Not even when I got into nursing school and could have gone anywhere. I stayed. Because I knew what abandonment felt like. Or at least, I thought I did. Fast forward to 3 weeks ago. Tuesday night. Same routine. Same fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like they're tired of existing. Same quiet hallway that smells like antiseptic and endings. Room 214B. New patient. Daniel Reynolds. The chart read. Step 55. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Transferred from a small hospital in West Virginia. No immediate family listed. Condition. Terminal. Nothing unusual. I grabbed my clipboard, pushed open the door, and stepped into what I assumed would be just another shift. He was already awake. That's what caught my attention first. Most patients in his condition are out cold by the time I meet them. Sedated, drifting somewhere between here and wherever comes next. But him? His eyes locked onto mine the second I walked in. Sharp. Aware. Like he'd been waiting. "Hey there," I said gently, slipping into my professional tone. "I'm Ava. I'll be your nurse tonight. Just gonna check your vitals, make sure you're comfortable." He didn't respond right away. Just watched me. Studied me. Like he was trying to solve a puzzle. I wrapped the blood pressure cuff around his arm, adjusting the IV line, doing everything I've done 1,000 times before. Routine. Safe. Controlled. And then, my badge swung forward, and his hand shot up and grabbed it. Not weak, not shaky. Firm. Desperate. I froze. His fingers tightened around the plastic like it was the only thing keeping him anchored. His eyes dropped to my name. "Reynolds," he whispered. Something in his voice cracked open. His grip started trembling. And then, God, this grown man, this dying stranger, started crying. Not quiet tears, not subtle, full broken sobs that shook his entire body. "Sir, hey, it's okay," I said, instinct kicking in as I gently tried to pull my badge free. "You're safe, you're okay. Can you tell me what's wrong?" He didn't answer. Not right away. His eyes lifted back to mine, scanning my face like he was searching for something he'd lost a long time ago. "How old are you?" he asked, voice barely hanging on. 33. He shut his eyes tight, like that number physically hurt him. "I looked for you," he whispered. My stomach dropped. "I'm sorry," I said, my voice coming out thinner than I wanted. 31 years, he continued. I looked everywhere. The room felt smaller, the air heavier. "Sir," I tried again, forcing logic into the moment. "I think you might be confused. That can happen with your mother." He cut me off. My heart stuttered. Lily Carter. The name hit me like a punch to the chest. That was my mom's maiden name. A name she hadn't used in decades. A name I'd only ever seen once, on my birth certificate. I took a step back. How do you know that? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He opened his eyes again, and this time there was no confusion in them, only certainty. She told me you died, he said. Everything inside me went cold. That is not, I started, but the words tangled in my throat. That is not possible. My father, he left. He was a drug addict. He died years ago. The man lying in that bed stared at me like I'd just told him the sky wasn't blue. I have never touched drugs in my life, he said quietly. Each word landed like a hammer. And I never stopped looking for you. My breathing got shallow. Too fast. Too loud. I'm your father, Ava. Silence. The kind that roars in your ears. Every instinct I had screamed that this was impossible. That this was delirium. That this was some cruel coincidence. But my gut was twisting in a way I couldn't explain. He slowly lifted his hand and pointed to a worn-out duffel bag sitting in the corner of the room. Open it, he said. Please. I don't know why I listened. Maybe it was the way his voice broke. Maybe it was the way my name sounded when he said it. Or maybe some part of me already knew. I walked over, my legs feeling like they didn't belong to me, and unzipped the bag. Inside was a thick, weathered folder. Edges worn. Corners bent. Like it had been opened, over and over again. I pulled it out. My hands were already shaking. And when I opened it, my entire world shattered. Because staring back at me was my birth certificate. Not a copy. The original. And under father's name, Daniel James Reynolds. The man lying in that bed behind me. My hands went numb. My vision blurred. And as I flipped to the next page, old photos, receipts, letters, dozens of them, all addressed to me, all written by a man who was told his daughter was dead. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. Because in that moment, one truth hit harder than anything else. If he was telling the truth, then my mother had been lying to me, my entire life. I didn't walk out of that room. I ran. Like something was chasing me. Like the truth itself had teeth. The folder was still in my hands, pressed so tight against my chest it felt like I was trying to shove it back inside me. Like if I held it hard enough, none of it would be real. But it was real. Too real. I made it halfway down the hospice hallway before my knees gave out. Just buckled. 1 second I was walking, the next I was on the cold tile floor, my back against the wall, gasping like I'd just been pulled out of deep water. The fluorescent lights above me flickered. Or maybe that was just my vision going in and out. Hey, Ava, you okay? It was Jessica, another nurse, night shift crew. We survive off caffeine, dark humor, and pretending we're not slowly breaking inside. I couldn't answer her. I just shook my head and shoved the folder toward her like it might explain everything. She frowned, crouching down beside me. What is this? My voice cracked. I think my patient is my dad. Silence. Not awkward silence. The kind of silence where reality shifts and nobody knows what to say next. Jessica blinked. Okay, you're gonna have to run that back for me. I swallowed hard, forcing the words out. He knew my mom's maiden name. He has my birth certificate. He has letters, years of letters. He said she told him I died. Jessica's expression changed, from confusion, to concern, to something heavier. All right, she said carefully, let's slow this down. Breathe first. I laughed. Actually laughed. A sharp, broken sound that didn't belong in my chest. Breathe, I said. Jess, I just found out my entire life might be a lie. She didn't argue with that. Didn't try to fix it. That's why I love her. Instead, she sat beside me on that dirty hospital floor and said, okay, then we figure out what's real. Simple. Grounding. Exactly what I needed. I looked down at the folder again. At the edges worn from decades of being opened. At the life I never knew existed. I need to see it all, I whispered. So I did. Right there in the hallway. At 2:47 in the morning, I opened it again. First page, birth certificate. Same as before. Same names. Same date. No mistake. Next. Photos. A baby girl wrapped in a yellow blanket. Big dark eyes. Tiny fists. I didn't just recognize the baby, I felt her. Like looking at a ghost version of myself. I've seen this, I murmured. Jessica leaned closer. Where? My mom has this photo, same outfit, same blanket, but my throat tightened. She cropped someone out. Someone, Jessica asked. I flipped the photo over, and there it was, written in faded ink, me and my girl, 4 months old. My chest caved in. Jess, I whispered. That is him. I didn't have to turn around to know. I could feel it, the weight of it, the truth pressing in from all sides. I kept going. Receipts, private investigators, different states, different years, all searching for one person, me. My fingers trembled as I picked up the first letter. The paper was soft, worn thin from being folded and unfolded too many times. I read the top line. Happy 3rd birthday, baby girl. My vision blurred instantly. Daddy misses you, it continued. I don't know where you are, but I'm still looking. I built you a little rocking horse today. I'm keeping it safe for when you come home. I couldn't finish. I physically couldn't. The words twisted something deep inside me, something I didn't even know was still there. Keep going, Jessica said softly. I shook my head. I can't. Yes, you can. I took a breath, forced myself. Second letter. Age 5, then 7, 10, 14, 18, each one written like he believed, knew. I was still out there somewhere, each one filled with updates about his life, things he wished he could tell me in person, things a father says when he never gets to watch his daughter grow up. By the time I got to the last one, my hands were shaking so badly the paper rattled. Happy 32nd birthday, Ava. I don't know if I'll ever find you, but if I do, I just want you to know I never stopped trying. I broke, completely. No control, no composure, just tears, ugly, uncontrollable sobs that echoed down the empty hallway. Because this man, this stranger, had loved me my entire life, and I never knew. Jessica pulled me into a hug, tight, grounding, real. Hey, she whispered. Hey, you're okay. No, I'm not, I choked out. I'm not okay. Because suddenly everything I believed about my childhood, about my pain, my choices, my identity, it all felt fake, manufactured. Like I'd been living inside a story someone else wrote, and I was just now reading the real version. After a few minutes, I pulled back, wiping my face. I need to talk to him, I said. Jessica nodded. Yeah, you do. I stood up slowly, legs still shaky. The folder clutched in my hands like it might disappear if I let go. When I got back to room 214B, he was awake, watching the door, like he knew I'd come back. I stepped inside, closed the door behind me, and for a moment, we just stared at each other. No nurse, no patient, just two people standing in the wreckage of a lie. I read them, I said finally, holding up the folder. His eyes softened. You kept all of them? I asked. Every single one, he said. Just in case. My throat tightened. Why didn't you stop? I whispered. After all that time, why didn't you just move on? He looked at me like the answer was obvious. Because you were my daughter, that simple, that permanent, that real. I felt something shift inside me, something I'd been missing my whole life, clicking into place. Tell me what happened, I said, stepping closer. From the beginning, no guessing, no assumptions. I need the truth. He nodded slowly, took a breath that clearly cost him something. 1993, he began. You were 2. I came home from work one day, and you were gone. My stomach twisted. Gone how? Everything was gone, he said. Your crib, your clothes, your toys, your mom's stuff, the car. Just gone. I felt my pulse in my throat. I thought maybe she went to her sister's, he continued, or took a trip, but after 2 days, I knew something was wrong. What did you do? I called everyone, he said. Friends, family, police. Nobody knew anything. He paused, swallowed hard. Then 2 weeks later, her friend called me. My chest tightened. What did she say? He looked down at his hands. Like even after all these years, it still hurt to say it out loud. She said there was a car accident, he whispered. Said your mom lost control on a highway in Kentucky. Said you didn't make it. The room went silent. My heart pounded in my ears. And you believed her? I asked. He shook his head slowly. No, he said. Not completely. Something felt off. So I checked. How? I called every hospital in Kentucky, he said. Every police station I could find. No accident. No records. Nothing. My breath caught. So what did you do then? I kept looking, he said. For years. His eyes lifted to mine. I knew you were out there. That certainty? It shook me. Because for 33 years, I believed the opposite. I believed he chose not to look. I believed he didn't care. And now, I was sitting in front of proof that he never stopped. Why didn't you find me? I asked quietly. His expression darkened. Your mom disappeared, he said. Changed states, changed numbers, started over. He hesitated. Back then, if a mother wanted to vanish with a child, she could. My stomach dropped. Because deep down, I already knew. This wasn't confusion. This wasn't on a mistake. This was intentional, calculated, planned. Do you have anything else? I asked. He nodded toward the folder. There's one more thing you haven't seen yet. My heart skipped. What? A letter, he said. From your mother. Everything inside me went still. What kind of letter? His voice dropped. The kind that proves she knew exactly what she was doing. I felt the ground shift under me again. Because whatever was in that letter, I already knew one thing for sure. It wasn't going to make this easier. It was going to make it worse. I didn't want you to see it yet. That's what he said. And the way his voice dropped when he said it wasn't hesitation. It was fear. The kind of fear that comes from knowing the truth might break someone. Permanently. I stood there at the foot of his bed, my fingers tightening around the folder. I need to see it, I said. My voice didn't shake this time. Because something inside me had already snapped. There was no going back to who I was before I walked into this room. He studied my face for a long moment. Like he was trying to decide if I was strong enough. Then slowly, he nodded. Back pocket, he whispered, inside the folder lining. I had not even noticed there was a lining. My hands moved automatically, flipping the folder over, fingers tracing the inner seam until, there, a small slit, hidden, intentional. My heart started pounding again as I reached inside and pulled out a folded piece of paper, old, yellowed, the edges soft from time, like it had been opened and closed 1,000 times. I stared at it for a second too long, because something deep inside me already knew. Whatever was written on this paper, there was no unreading it. Go ahead, he said quietly. So I did. I unfolded it, and the second my eyes hit the first line, my entire body went cold. Daniel, I'm leaving and I'm taking Ava. My breath caught, sharp, painful. I kept reading. Don't try to find us. I told everyone she died. It's easier this way. The words blurred. I blinked hard. No. No, no, no. She deserves a fresh start without you. I'm doing what's best for her. My hands started shaking. Violently. Because I knew that handwriting. I knew it better than my own. I'd seen it on birthday cards, on sticky notes on the fridge, on little I love you messages left on the kitchen counter. It was my mom's. There was no doubt, no confusion, no possible explanation that made this okay. She wrote this, I whispered. It wasn't a question. Daniel nodded slowly. She didn't send it, he said. A friend of hers gave it to me months later, said she couldn't live with the lie. My chest felt tight, like something heavy was sitting on it, refusing to move. She told you I was dead, I said, my voice hollow. While writing this, he swallowed. Yeah. I looked back down at the letter, at the words that just erased everything I thought I knew. It's easier this way. Easier. That word hit different. It echoed in my head, over and over again. Easier for who? Because it sure as hell wasn't easier for the man who spent 3 decades searching for a daughter he thought might still be alive. And it wasn't easier for the daughter who grew up believing she wasn't worth staying for. I felt something shift inside me. Not sadness, not confusion, something darker, something sharper, anger, pure, clean anger. Because this wasn't a misunderstanding, this wasn't a mistake, this was a choice. A deliberate, calculated decision to rewrite reality, and I had been living inside that rewritten version my entire life. I folded the letter slowly, carefully, like it might explode if I moved too fast. How long have you had this? I asked. Since 1994, he said. And you kept looking anyway." He gave me a small, tired smile. I figured if she went through that much effort to disappear, there was a reason she didn't want me to find you. "That didn't stop you?" "No," he said simply. "Because she doesn't get to decide if I love you." That hit me harder than anything else. Because for 33 years, she had decided. For both of us. I turned away for a second, pressing my fingers against my temples, trying to think, trying to breathe, trying not to completely lose it in front of him. Because this man, my father, was dying, and instead of peace, instead of closure, he got this. A lifetime of lies. And just when I thought it couldn't get worse, it did. "There's something else," he said quietly. I closed my eyes. "Of course there was. There always is," I muttered. "What?" I asked, turning back to him. He hesitated. And that hesitation, that scared me more than anything else so far. "She came back," he said. My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" "Years later," he continued. "Out of nowhere. Around 2010, my pulse started racing again." "Why?" His jaw tightened. "For money." I blinked. "What?" "She heard my mom had land," he said. "Thought maybe there was something to get out of it. So she reached out." I felt sick. Did she ask about me?" He nodded. "Yeah." My breath caught. "And?" He looked straight at me. "She knew you were alive." That was it. That was the moment something inside me broke beyond repair. Because up until now, there was still a tiny part of me, just a tiny part, that hoped maybe my mom had convinced herself of the lie, that maybe she believed it, that maybe she thought she was protecting me. But this erased all of that. "She knew," I whispered. "Yeah," he said. "She knew I was still looking too." My chest tightened. "So she lied to me every single day. And to me," he added softly. The room felt too small again, too quiet, too heavy with everything that had just been uncovered. I looked at him, really looked this time, at the lines in his face, at the exhaustion in his eyes, at the decades of pain he carried like it was just part of who he was. "I'm sorry," I said. The words slipped out before I could stop them. He frowned slightly. "For what?" "For believing her," I said. "For thinking you didn't care. For hating you without even knowing you." His expression softened immediately. "No," he said gently. "No, you don't apologize for that. But, you were a kid," he cut in. "You believed the only story you were given. That's not your fault." My throat tightened. Because that was the thing. It felt like my fault. Like somehow, I should have known. I sat down in the chair beside his bed. Closer this time. Not as a nurse, not as a stranger, but as something else. Something new. Something I didn't even know how to define yet. "Can I ask you something?" I said. "Anything." "Why didn't you move on?" I asked. "Like, really move on. New family, new life." He smiled faintly. "I tried dating," he admitted. "Couple times. And didn't stick." "Why not?" He looked at me. And this time, his voice was softer than I'd ever heard it. "Because I already had a family." My chest tightened again. And for the first time since all of this started, I felt something different. Not anger. Not confusion. Something warmer. Something unfamiliar. Belonging. It scared me a little. Because I didn't know what to do with it. We sat there in silence for a while. Not awkward. Not heavy. Just quiet. Like both of us were trying to process 33 years of missed time in a single moment. Finally, I stood up. "I need to go," I said. His expression shifted slightly. Not disappointment, just understanding. "Yeah," he said. "That's a lot for one night." I nodded. "I'll come back tomorrow," I added. And the second I said it, something changed in his eyes. Hope. Real, undeniable hope. "I'd like that," he said. I turned toward the door. But before I could leave, Ava, I stopped. Looked back. "Yeah?" He swallowed. And for a second, he looked like he was about to say something big. Something important. But instead, he just smiled softly. "I'm really glad you're alive." That did it. That broke whatever was left holding me together. I nodded quickly, unable to trust my voice, and walked out of the room before I completely lost it. But here's the thing. Finding out the truth about my father, that wasn't the hardest part. The hardest part was what I had to do next. Because now, I had to face my mother, and something told me that conversation was going to change everything. I didn't sleep that night, not even a minute. I lay in my bed staring at the ceiling, watching shadows crawl across the walls from the parking lot lights outside my apartment, replaying every single word over and over again. I told everyone she died. It's easier this way. She knew you were alive. Every sentence hit harder the second time, then the third, then the 100th. By 6 a.m., I wasn't confused anymore. I wasn't even shocked. I was clear. And clarity is dangerous. Because once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. And there was only one thing left to do. I had to confront her. I didn't call first, didn't text, didn't give her time to prepare a story. Because if there's one thing I understood now, my mother was very, very good at controlling narratives. So I got in my car, grabbed a coffee I didn't drink, and drove an hour south to Dayton. Suburbs, tree-lined streets, perfect lawns, the kind of neighborhood where nothing ugly is supposed to exist. Her house sat exactly the same as always. White siding, blue shutters, an American flag hanging by the porch like everything inside was built on honesty. I almost laughed at that. I parked, sat there for a second, hands gripping the steering wheel. Because once I walked inside, there was no going back. Then I got out, walked up the driveway, and opened the front door without knocking. "Mom?" I called out. "In the kitchen, honey." Her voice, warm, normal, like my world hadn't just been ripped in half. I walked in, and there she was, standing at the stove, flipping pancakes like it was just another Sunday morning, like she hadn't lied to me for 33 years. "Hey, baby," she said, smiling as she turned around. "You didn't call. I would have. What's his name?" The words cut straight through her sentence. Sharp. Immediate. No warning. Her smile froze. Just for a second. But I saw it. That tiny crack. That hesitation. "What?" she said lightly. "My father," I said. "What is his full name?" She turned back to the stove. Too quickly. "Why are we doing this?" she sighed. "We have talked about this before." "No," I said. "You have talked." I listened. That made her pause. She turned off the burner slowly, set the spatula down, then faced me. Calm, controlled, practiced. "His name was Michael," she said. "Michael Carter." Lie. I didn't even need proof anymore. I could hear it, feel it, see it in the way she avoided eye contact. "Try again," I said. Her jaw tightened slightly. "Ava, Daniel Reynolds," I cut in. "Born 1969, carpenter, from West Virginia." Silence. Heavy. Immediate. And just like that, the air shifted. "Where did you hear that?" she asked. Not confused. Not shocked. Careful. Measured. Like she was calculating her next move. That told me everything. "You didn't say that is wrong," I said quietly. Her lips pressed together. "Did he contact you?" she asked. There it was. Not "how do you know that?" Not "that is impossible." But, "Did he contact you?" The response of someone who already knows the truth. "I'm asking the questions," I said. "What is his name?" She crossed her arms. Defense mode. "That man is not someone you need to be thinking about." I felt something snap. "No," I said. "You don't get to do that anymore." Her eyes flashed. "Excuse me? You don't get to decide what I think about. You don't get to control this conversation." Her expression hardened. Cold. Different. This wasn't the mom who packed my lunches. This wasn't the woman who kissed my forehead before school. This was someone else. Someone I didn't recognize. "That man," she said slowly, "was a mistake. And I protected you from him." I laughed. A short, bitter sound. "Protected me?" I repeated. "By telling him I was dead?" Her face changed. Not dramatically. Just enough. Enough for me to know. She knew I knew. "You went through my things?" she asked, deflecting. "Of course." "No," I said. "I met him." That landed. Hard. Her shoulders went stiff. "Where?" "Hospice," I said. "He's dying." Something flickered in her eyes. Not sadness. Not guilt. Something closer to irritation. Like this was inconvenient for her. He has weeks left, I continued. Maybe less. She exhaled slowly. And then, she did something that made my stomach turn. She softened. Her eyes filled with tears. Her voice trembled. Ava, she whispered. I did what I had to do. There it was, the performance, the emotional shift, the victim card. I watched it happen in real time. And for the first time in my life, it didn't work. No, I said flatly. You did what was easier. Her expression snapped. The tears didn't fall. They just stopped. Like someone flipped a switch. You don't understand, she said, voice colder now. Then explain it, I shot back. Explain why you told him I died. Explain why you told me he abandoned us. Explain why you kept that lie going for 3 decades. She stared at me, silent, calculating. Then she said it. You were better off. I blinked. What? You were better off without him, she repeated. I took a step closer. Based on what? I demanded. He wasn't stable, she said. He's been looking for me for 31 years, I fired back. That doesn't sound unstable to me. You don't know him, she snapped. And I don't know you, I shot back. That hit. I saw it. For the first time, I saw uncertainty in her eyes. Because the dynamic had shifted. I wasn't the little girl in the kitchen anymore. I wasn't the daughter who believed everything she said. I was someone else now. Someone asking questions she couldn't control. He has a letter, I said. Her entire body went still. A letter you wrote, I continued. In your handwriting, saying you took me. Saying you told people I died. Color drained from her face. Fast, not slow, not subtle, immediate. You kept that, she whispered. I didn't answer. Because I didn't need to. The silence said enough. She looked away. For the first time since I walked in, she broke eye contact. And that was everything. You don't understand the situation I was in, she said quietly. Then help me understand, I said. She shook her head. No, some things, you don't need to know. I felt my anger spike again. No, I said. You don't get to hide behind that anymore. Her eyes snapped back to mine. Sharp. Dangerous. You need to let this go, she said. I laughed again. But this time, there was no humor in it. Let it go? I repeated. You erased an entire person from my life. You made me believe I wasn't wanted. You built my entire identity on a lie. Her voice dropped. Low, threatening. If you keep digging into this, you're going to regret it. That stopped me. Not because I was scared, but because I finally understood something. This wasn't about protecting me. This was about protecting her. You're not worried about me, I said slowly. You're worried about yourself. Her silence confirmed it, and in that moment, I saw her clearly. For the first time, not as my mother, not as the woman who raised me, but as someone who made a choice, and spent 33 years covering it up. I grabbed my keys off the counter. I'm going back to see him, I said. She stepped forward quickly, grabbing my arm. Don't note, she said. I looked down at her hand, then back at her. Don't what? I asked. Don't open something you can't close, she said. I gently pulled my arm free. Too calm, too steady. That already happened, I said. I walked out, didn't slam the door, didn't look back. But as I got into my car, one thought kept repeating in my head. If she was this desperate to stop me, then there was still more she wasn't telling me. And whatever it was big. Big enough to ruin everything. I thought the confrontation with my mom was the hardest part. I was wrong. The hardest part was realizing she wasn't done. Not even close. Because the next morning, before I could even process everything that happened, I walked into work and got called straight into my supervisor's office. No good morning. No small talk. Just, Ava, shut the door and sit down. Karen had been running that hospice for over 20 years. Nothing rattled her. She'd seen families fall apart in real time, secrets spill out at deathbeds, lawsuits, screaming matches, you name it. But that morning, even she looked tense. What's going on? I asked, already feeling that tight knot forming in my chest. She folded her hands on the desk. I got a phone call this morning, she said carefully. Something in her tone made my stomach drop. From who? A woman named Lily Carter. My blood ran cold. My mother, I said flatly. Karen nodded. She filed a formal complaint. A beat. About you. I blinked. What kind of complaint? Karen hesitated. And that hesitation? That was all I needed to know this wasn't small. She claimed, Karen said slowly, that you're emotionally compromised and engaging in inappropriate behavior with a patient. For a second, I didn't react, because my brain couldn't process it. Inappropriate, I repeated. She said your judgment is impaired. Karen continued, that you have developed a personal attachment and shouldn't be responsible for his care. I let out a breath, a sharp one, almost a laugh. She's trying to get me pulled off his case, I said. Karen didn't confirm it. She didn't have to. You know the protocol, she said instead. If there's a personal connection, family, history, anything like that, you cannot remain the primary nurse. I nodded slowly. Of course I knew the rules. I'd followed them my entire career. But this wasn't about protocol. This was about control. She's trying to keep me away from him, I said quietly. Karen leaned back in her chair. Is there truth to what she's saying? She asked gently. About him being your father? I met her eyes. Yeah, I said. I just found out a few days ago. She exhaled slowly, processing. Okay, she said. Then we need to reassign his care. The words hit harder than I expected. Reassign. Like I was just another staff member. Not his daughter. Not someone who just found out she lost 30 years with her father. Can I still see him? I asked. Off the clock, she said. As family, not as staff. I nodded. It wasn't enough, but it was something. You'll take him. Jessica's voice came from the doorway. I turned. She was leaning against the frame, arms crossed, expression serious. I've got room on my caseload, she said. I'll keep you updated on everything. I felt a wave of relief hit me. Thank you, I said. She gave me a small nod. I got you. Karen stood. This stays professional, she said firmly. No conflicts, no scenes. Understood, understood, I replied. But inside, nothing about this felt professional anymore. This was personal, deeply personal. And my mom had just crossed a line she couldn't uncross. I stepped out of the office, my hands clenched into fists. Jessica followed me down the hall. She really did that? She asked. Yeah, I said. She really did. Jessica shook her head. That is not just messed up, she muttered. That is calculated. I stopped walking. Because that word hit exactly right. Calculated. She's trying to run out the clock, I said. Jessica frowned. What do you mean? He's dying, I said. If she keeps me away from him long enough, he dies before I get the full truth. Jessica's expression darkened. Then we don't let that happen. I nodded. Because now, this wasn't just about closure. This was a race against time. And my mom was trying to win. Later that afternoon, I sat in my car during my break, staring at my phone. There was one number I hadn't called yet. One person who might have more answers. His mother. My grandmother. The word felt strange in my head. Foreign. Like trying on a piece of clothing that should have been mine all along, but never was. I took a breath and dialed. It rang twice. 3 times. Then, hello? Her voice was soft. Careful. Like someone who doesn't get many calls anymore. Hi, I hesitated. Is this Margaret Reynolds? Yes, she said slowly. Who is this? My throat tightened. My name is Ava, I said. Ava Reynolds. Silence. Long. Heavy. I almost thought the call dropped. Then, a sound. A small, broken sound. Like something fragile cracking. I know that name, she whispered. My chest tightened. I think I'm your granddaughter. Another silence. Then, oh my God. Her voice broke completely. You're alive? Tears hit my eyes instantly. Yeah, I whispered. I'm alive. And just like that, she started crying. Not quiet tears, not controlled. Full, emotional sobs that came straight from the heart. I prayed for this, she said through tears. For years, I prayed. I pressed my hand against my mouth, trying to hold it together. I didn't know, I said. I swear I didn't know. I know, she said quickly. I know, baby. None of this is your fault. That word again. Baby, It shouldn't have hit me the way it did. But it did. Because there was something in her voice, something real, something I'd been missing. I still have your room, she said suddenly. I blinked. What? Your nursery, she said. I never changed it. My heart stuttered. It's still there, she continued. Your crib, your blankets, everything. I closed my eyes, trying to picture it, a room that had been waiting for me for 30 years. I thought, if I changed it, it would mean you were really gone, she said softly. Tears slipped down my face. I wasn't gone, I whispered. I know that now, she said. We stayed on the phone for almost an hour. She told me everything. How my dad never stopped looking. How he went to missing persons databases every year. How he aged my photo. 5 years, 10 years, 15. Trying to imagine what I looked like. How every birthday, every single birthday, he bought me a gift, wrapped it, labeled it, and put it in that room. 33 presents, waiting. For me. I couldn't breathe. He never gave up, she said. Not once. I wiped my face, my emotions all over the place. He's not going to have much time left, I said quietly. Her voice broke again. I know. I'm going to stay with him, I said. As much as I can. Good, she said. He deserves that. There was a pause. Then she added something that made my stomach drop. Your mother called me once, she said. What? I asked. Years ago, she continued. Out of nowhere. My chest tightened. What did she say? Margaret went quiet for a second, like she was replaying it. She told me to stop looking, she said. My jaw clenched. And when I asked if you were really dead, Margaret continued, her voice trembling. She said, I held my breath, she said. She is to you. Silence. Complete silence. Because that sentence wasn't just cruel. It was intentional. Final. Like she wanted to erase me from their lives completely. And in that moment, I realized something terrifying. My mom didn't just lie. She buried the truth. Deep. And she was willing to destroy anything and anyone to keep it that way. I hung up the phone slowly, staring at nothing. Because now, this wasn't just about lies. This was about something much bigger. Something darker. And I could feel it. There was still one more piece missing. One more secret that my mom was desperately trying to keep buried. And whatever it was about to come out. I didn't plan to expose her. I need to be clear about that. I didn't sit at my kitchen table plotting revenge, writing some dramatic speech, or rehearsing lines in the mirror like this was a movie. That's not who I am. But life doesn't always give you clean, controlled moments. Sometimes, it backs you into a corner. And the truth demands to be said out loud, whether you're ready or not. It was Friday afternoon when my mom called. Her name lit up my phone like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't tried to get me removed from my father's care. Like she hadn't threatened me. Like she hadn't lied to me for 33 years. I stared at it for a second before answering. Hello? Her voice came through warm. Too warm. The same tone she used when talking to church friends or neighbors. Honey, I wanted to remind you, tomorrow's my community service award ceremony at St. Matthew's. You're coming, right? I blinked. What? The ceremony, she repeated, like I was the one being weird. They're honoring me for 30 years of service. The whole church will be there. 30 years. The irony almost made me laugh. I need you front row, she added. It would mean a lot. Mean a lot. To who? Her. Her image, her story. I'll think about it, I said. There was a slight pause, just enough to feel it. Well, wear something nice, she continued. There will be photos. Of course there would be. There always were. Because appearances mattered. Truth? Not so much. I hung up without committing. And for the next few hours, I couldn't stop thinking about it. About her standing on a stage, smiling, telling her version of the story, while my father, my real father, lay in a hospice bed 20 minutes away, dying. Something about that didn't sit right. No, that's not true. It didn't just not sit right. It made my stomach turn. So the next morning, I went. Not because I supported her. Not because I wanted to celebrate her. But because I needed to see it for myself. I needed to hear exactly what she would say. when she thought no one would challenge her. St. Matthew's Church looked exactly how you'd expect. Red brick, white columns, perfect lawn. The kind of place where everything looks pure on the outside. I parked and sat in my car for a minute, my hands resting on the steering wheel, because something in my gut told me this wasn't going to be a simple in-and-out situation. Then I grabbed my purse, and inside it, the folder. I didn't consciously decide to bring it, but I didn't leave it behind either. I walked in, and immediately felt it, the energy. 200 people, maybe more, dressed up, smiling, talking, celebrating. A banner stretched across the front of the room, honoring Lily Carter, 30 years of service. I almost turned around, almost. But then I saw her, standing near the stage, perfect posture, perfect smile, perfect image, like none of this ever happened. She spotted me, her face lit up, she waved, like we were fine, like we were normal. I forced a smile back, and sat down in the third row. Close enough to see everything, far enough to breathe. The ceremony started a few minutes later. Pastor Williams stepped up to the podium. Today, he began, we honor a woman of strength, sacrifice, and unwavering love. Applause. I didn't clap. She raised her daughter alone. He continued, after being abandoned by a man who chose his own demons over his family. My chest tightened. There it was. The story. Still being told. Still being believed. Still being applauded. I felt my hands clench in my lap. But I stayed seated. Stayed quiet. Because I needed to hear her say it. Needed to hear it from her own mouth. Then she stepped up to the podium. And the room lit up. Smiles. Applause. Admiration. She soaked it in. Of course she did. Thank you, she said, her voice soft, emotional. This means more to me than you know. The performance had started. I wasn't always strong, she continued. There was a time when I had nothing, just a 2-year-old daughter and a broken heart. Murmurs of sympathy rippled through the crowd. I remember the day he left, she said, her voice cracking perfectly. No warning. No explanation. Just gone. My heart started pounding. Hard. Fast. And I had to pick up the pieces, she continued. For my daughter. She turned slightly. Looked right at me. And look at her now, she said proudly. She became a hospice nurse. She takes care of people in their final moments because she knows what it feels like to be left behind. Applause. Loud. Emotional. And something inside me, something deep, finally snapped. Because that wasn't just a lie anymore. That was theft. She didn't just lie about my father. She built my entire identity on that lie. She used it, weaponized it, turned it into a story that made her look like a hero, while he, a man who never stopped looking for me, was painted as a villain. And I sat there, listening to it, realizing one thing. If I stayed quiet, I was part of the lie. My heart was racing now. My hands shaking slightly, not from fear, from adrenaline, from anger, from truth clawing its way out. She smiled at me again, expecting pride, gratitude, silence. Instead, I stood up. The movement was small, but it felt like the entire room shifted. A few heads turned, then more. She saw me. Her smile widened. She thought I was coming up to thank her, that I was about to play my part in her story. I walked toward the stage, each step loud in my ears, heavy, final. 200 people watching, waiting. I climbed the steps, stood beside her, close enough to feel the tension radiating off her. She leaned slightly toward me, whispered, "Not here." Too late. I stepped up to the microphone, took a breath, and looked out at the crowd. At all the people who believed her. At all the people who had no idea. "Hi," I said, my voice steady, stronger than I expected. "I'm Ava, Lily's daughter." Smiles, nods, recognition. I glanced at my mom. Her smile was still there, but tighter now, controlled, careful. She knew something was off. "Good. Thank you all for being here," I continued, "and for supporting my mom." I paused, just long enough, and then, "There's just one thing." The room quieted. Completely. "My mom said something earlier," I continued, "about my father abandoning us. Her body went still beside me. And I took a breath. This was it. No going back. I need to correct that. The silence turned heavy. Confused. Uncertain. Because nobody expected this. My father didn't abandon me, I said. The words landed like a shockwave. You could feel it. Physically. A ripple through the room. My father is alive, I continued. And he's been looking for me for the past 31 years. Gasps. Whispers. Confusion spreading like wildfire. Beside me, my mother's smile disappeared. Completely. And in its place, something raw. Something desperate. Stop, she whispered under her breath. But I didn't. Because now, I wasn't just speaking for myself. I was speaking for him. For every letter he wrote. For every year he searched. For 31 years, I said into the mic. He thought I was dead. The room went dead silent. No movement. No sound. Just shock. And he thought that, because my mother told him I was. That was it. That was the moment everything changed. Because you can hide a lie for decades. You can build a life around it. You can convince everyone it's true. But the second the truth is spoken out loud, in front of witnesses, in front of people who believed you, that lie, it starts to collapse. And my mother knew it, because when I turned to look at her, she wasn't smiling anymore. She looked terrified. You're lying, that's what she said. Not loud, not screaming, just cold, sharp, controlled. But her voice, it cracked just enough to give her away. I was still standing at the podium, the microphone inches from my mouth, 200 people staring at us like they were watching something they didn't fully understand yet, but couldn't look away from. You're confused, sweetheart, she added, turning toward the crowd now, forcing a small, strained smile. This is exactly what I meant earlier. Grief can make people. No, I cut in. Clear, firm, final. The word echoed through the room. She froze, just for a second, but that second, that was all I needed. I'm not confused, I said into the mic, and I'm not grieving. I reached into my purse, pulled out the folder, and the second people saw it, the energy shifted again. Because now, this wasn't just words. This was proof. My mom's eyes locked onto it immediately, and for the first time since I'd known her, I saw something I'd never seen before. Panic. Real panic. Ava, she whispered. Put that away. I ignored her, opened the folder slowly, deliberately, letting the moment stretch, letting the weight of it settle over everyone watching. This, I said, holding up the birth certificate, is my original birth certificate. I turned it slightly so the front row could see. My father's name is Daniel James Reynolds. Murmurs. Whispers. People shifting in their seats. Because this wasn't a misunderstanding anymore. This was documentation. My mom stepped closer to me, her voice low, urgent. You're embarrassing yourself. I glanced at her, then back at the crowd. No, I said calmly. I'm correcting the story. I flipped to the next page. Photos. Held one up. This is me, I said. 4 months old. I paused. And this I turned it slightly as him. More murmurs, louder now. Because people could see it, the resemblance, the truth. You told everyone he left, I said, my voice steady but rising. That he didn't care, that he chose drugs over us. I turned to her fully now. He never did drugs. Silence, heavy, thick, uncomfortable. And he never stopped looking for me. That hit. I saw it ripple through the crowd. Because that didn't fit the story they'd been told. Didn't fit the version of her they believed in. I reached into the folder again, pulled out the letter, the one that changed everything. My hand shook slightly, not from fear, from the weight of it. This, I said, holding it up, is a letter my mother wrote. Her face drained instantly. Ava, she started. I didn't stop. Her handwriting. I continued. Her words. I unfolded it. And even though I'd already read it, even though I knew what it said, saying it out loud, that was different. That made it real. Daniel, I'm leaving and I'm taking Ava. Gasps. Actual gasps, out loud. I kept going, didn't hesitate. Don't try to find us. I told everyone she died. It's easier this way. The room went dead. No whispers, no movement, nothing. Just silence. Because there it was. The truth. Clear. Undeniable. Unavoidable. I lowered the letter slowly, my eyes finding hers. And for the first time in my life, she didn't have control. This is what you did, I said quietly. This is who you are. She shook her head. Quickly. Desperately. That is not, she started. But her voice broke. Her composure cracked. And everyone saw it. This is out of context, she tried again. You don't understand the situation. Then explain it, I said. Right there, in front of everyone. Explain how telling a father his child is dead is protection. Silence. She looked around, at the crowd, at the faces that used to admire her, now confused, now questioning, now doubting. And that's when she snapped. Not fully, not screaming, but enough. You think you know everything? She said, her voice rising. You think you understand what I went through? I didn't back down. No, I said. I think I finally understand what you did. Her eyes flashed. You were 2 years old explanation, she shot back. You have no idea what that man was capable of. My heart pounded. Then tell me, I said. What was he capable of? She hesitated. And that hesitation, that was everything. Because if there was something real, something dangerous, she would have said it, immediately. But she didn't. She just stood there, searching, reaching, trying to grab onto something that would make this make sense, and coming up empty. He wasn't good enough, she said finally. The words hung there, weak, pathetic. After everything, that was her reason? I stared at her, really stared, waiting for more, for something deeper, something that justified 33 years of lies. But there was nothing. That is it? I asked quietly. That's your reason? Her jaw tightened. I wanted a better life for you, she said. I let out a breath. Slow. Disbelieving. You didn't give me a better life, I said. You gave me a fake one. That landed. Hard. And the room felt it. You took away my choice, I continued. You took away my father, my family, my entire history. My voice cracked slightly, but I didn't stop. You made me believe I wasn't wanted. That one hit the deepest. Because it wasn't just about him. It was about me, my identity, my worth, my entire understanding of love. And the worst part? I said softly. You watched me build my life around that pain, and you never said a word. Silence. She didn't respond, didn't argue, didn't deny it, because she couldn't. I turned back to the crowd, to the people who had come here to celebrate her. To everyone here, I said, my voice steady again. I'm not saying this to ruin her. I'm saying it because it's the truth. I paused. Let it settle. My father is in hospice right now, I continued. Dying. More murmurs. Shock. And he spent the last 31 years of his life looking for me, because he believed I might still be out there. I swallowed. Hard. And I just met him 3 days ago. That hit different. Because now it wasn't just about the past. It was about the present. About time lost. About moments that would never come back. I looked at my mom one last time. And this time, I didn't see a villain. I saw a person. Flawed. Broken. Selfish. Human. But not innocent. Whatever you thought you were protecting, I said quietly. You destroyed something else to do it. Her eyes filled with tears. Real ones this time. Not controlled. Not performed. Just there. But it didn't change anything. Because some damage doesn't get undone by tears. I stepped away from the podium. The room still silent. Still processing. Still shifting. And as I walked down the steps, I realized something. This wasn't the end. Not even close. Because I still had one thing left to do. One moment left. One decision that would define everything that came after. I needed to go back. Back to him. Because time was running out. I didn't stay. Not for the whispers. Not for the questions. Not for the looks. I walked out of that church like it was on fire behind me. Because none of that mattered anymore. Not the crowd. Not my mom. Not the story she built. The only thing that mattered now was him. I drove straight to the hospice. Speeding. Heart racing. Hands tight on the wheel like if I let go, everything would fall apart again. I didn't even park properly. Just left the car crooked and ran inside. Down the hallway. Past the nurse's station. Room 214B. I pushed the door open and froze. The room was quiet, too quiet. Jessica was standing by the window, her back to me. She turned when she heard the door, and the look on her face, I knew. Before she even said a word, my chest tightened. No, I whispered. She walked toward me slowly, gentle, careful, like I was something fragile. He's still here, she said softly. But, Ava? My heart dropped into my stomach. How long? I asked. Hours, she said. Maybe less. I nodded. Couldn't speak. Couldn't think. Just moved, one step at a time, toward the bed. And there he was. My father. My real father. Lying there, smaller than I remembered. Weaker. Breathing shallow. Each inhale like it was asking permission to exist. I stepped closer. Sat down beside him. And for a second, I didn't know what to do. Because how do you fit 33 years into a few hours? Hey, I whispered. His eyes fluttered open. Slow. Heavy. But when they found mine, something lit up. Faint. But real. You came back, he whispered. I smiled through the tears already falling. Yeah, I said. I told you I would. His lips twitched slightly, like he was trying to smile. I was starting to think. He breathed. I imagined you. My chest cracked open. I'm real, I said softly. I'm right here. I reached for his hand. This time, he didn't grab mine in desperation. He just held it. Gently. Like he'd been waiting his whole life to do it. I went to see her, I said. His eyes shifted slightly. Understanding. Yeah, he whispered. I nodded. I told everyone, I said. The truth. A small pause. Then, good. He breathed. No questions. No hesitation. Just acceptance. I wish I had more time, I said. My voice breaking now. There's so much I don't know. So much we missed. He squeezed my hand. Weak. But there. We're here now, he said. Simple. But somehow. Enough. I swallowed hard. Grandma says you kept my room, I added, trying to steady myself. A faint smile touched his lips. Yeah, he whispered. Didn't want to. Erase you. That word again. Erase. Funny how that works. One person spent decades trying to erase me, and another spent those same decades refusing to. I want to see it, I said. All of it. The gifts, the room, everything. You will, he said. Not maybe. Not I hope so. Just, you will. I nodded, clinging to that. Then I took a breath. Deep. Because there was one thing left. One thing I needed to say. I'm sorry, I whispered. His brow furrowed slightly. For what? For not finding you sooner, I said. For believing her? For all the years we lost? He shook his head. Barely. But enough. No, he said. You don't carry that. But I found you, he said softly. That's what matters. Tears streamed down my face now, uncontrollable. Because how was he the one comforting me? How was he the one making this easier? After everything he lost? I don't know how to do this, I admitted. I don't know how to say goodbye to someone I just met. His grip tightened slightly, and for the first time, I saw it. Not fear, not regret, peace. You don't say goodbye, he whispered. My breath caught. What do you mean? You say, you found me, he said, and I found you. That broke me completely, because that was it. That was the truth. Not the years we lost, not the lies, not the pain. Just, we found each other. In the end. I found you, I whispered. His eyes softened. And I found you, he echoed. The room went quiet again. But this time, it wasn't heavy. It wasn't suffocating. It was still. Like everything had finally settled. I sat there with him, holding his hand, talking, laughing softly through tears, filling the space with whatever we could. Stories, fragments, moments, trying to build something out of what little time we had left. And then, at some point, his breathing slowed, even more, shallow, faint. I felt it before I saw it. That shift, that moment. Dad, I whispered. The word felt new, foreign, but right. His eyes opened one last time. Barely. Just enough. I'm here, I said quickly. I'm right here. His gaze locked onto mine. And in that moment, there was nothing else. No past, no lies, no missing years. Just us. His lips moved. I leaned in closer. I love you, he whispered. 3 words. 33 years late. And still, perfect. I love you too, I said, my voice breaking completely. His hand relaxed in mine, slowly, gently. And then, he was gone. Just like that. No dramatic moment. No warning. Just quiet, peaceful, final. I sat there for a long time. Didn't move. Didn't speak. Just held his hand. Because letting go? That felt impossible. But eventually, I had to. A few days later, I stood outside a small house in West Virginia. White paint. Faded. A little worn. But standing. Margaret opened the door before I could knock. And the second she saw me, she pulled me into a hug. Tight. Real. Home. Welcome back, she whispered. Inside, everything was still there. The room. The crib. The gifts. 33 years of waiting. Of hope. Of love that refused to disappear. I stepped inside slowly, taking it all in. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like something was missing. Because I wasn't. Not anymore. I don't know what happens next. I don't know what my relationship with my mother will look like, or if there even will be one. Some wounds don't heal clean. Some truths don't come with easy endings. But I do know this. I know who I am now. I know where I come from. And I know that love, real love, doesn't disappear just because someone tries to erase it. It waits. It holds on. It finds its way back, even after 33 years. And sometimes, you don't get a lifetime with someone. Sometimes you only get a few days. But if those days are real, if they're honest, if they're filled with truth, then maybe, just maybe, that is enough.